Right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this meeting of the Scrutiny Committee of Melton Borough Council. Unfortunately, once again, we're unable to live stream this evening due to the ongoing technical issues, but the meeting is being recorded and will be posted on YouTube not very long after we've met. Just to go through the normal housekeeping matters, members are asked to physically raise their hands in the usual way to indicate they wish to speak. Please switch your mobile phones to silent. Should you need to leave the room during the meeting, unless it's an emergency evacuation, when the emergency exit should be used, please use the marked exit and entrance. Just to remind you of the evacuation procedure, in the event of having to evacuate, please leave by the emergency exit nearest to you. Please assemble at the far side of the front car park nearest to the park entrance, and officers are on hand to assist anyone who requires it. Public record of the meeting. We do have someone in the public gallery tonight. Just to remind you that there is legislation that allows the public to film, record or use social media at a council meeting, but it should not be disruptive to the good order of the meeting, nor include any filming or recording of the public seating area. Okay, right, I'll move on to the agenda proper. First item, apologies for absence. I believe we have apologies from councillors Cliff and Chubb. And that, otherwise everybody is here present. Item 2, the minutes of the meeting held on the 26th of June. Now, you will have received an email from Adam a couple of days ago, just asking if there are any issues with the minutes. They should, it would be helpful if they're notified in advance. Did you receive anything, Adam? On that basis, I'm assuming there's no items people want to change or add to the minutes. So I'll move to a vote. Can I have a proposer to accept the minutes of the meeting? Councillor Gordon, seconder. Councillor Webster. Those in favour, please show. Thank you. Item 3 on the agenda is the response tracker. As you know, this is here to sorry, I'm having to scroll. The computer was slow in coming up tonight, so I'm not where it should be. The response tracker is there to feedback on issues raised at the previous meetings. Are there any comments about the items on the response tracker? I should say one of the items, of course, is the during the leader's presentation at the last meeting, there were a number of items that request for further information was made. You'll all have received an email setting out responses on all those issues. So that item has been covered. Any other comments on the response tracker? Councillor Thwaites.
I was just going to say on that matter, should the response we got be put on the public record as well?
I think that could be done, couldn't it? Yeah. Okay. Any other comments on the response tracker? Thank you. Move to item 4. Are there any declarations of interest that members need to make in respect of the business to be conducted tonight? Councillor Gordon.
Yeah, it's just in case it comes up. It's the Waterfield Leisure Centre. I am a member of the Waterfield Leisure Centre insofar as only using the facilities. And if anything comes up for the council housing, I am a council flat tenant, but have been advised that I can stay in and participate as no decisions are being made. Thanks.
Thank you for that, Councillor Gordon. Any other declarations? Councillor Webster.
If anything comes up, maybe town estate, I maybe have to leave the room or not be part of it. It's been a fee still.
I don't know if you give some guidance on that, Adam. Would that do you think membership of the town estate is likely to require leaving the room?
I don't think so, but we will play by ear if you know.
We would welcome your presence throughout the meeting, Councillor Webster, but if you feel there's any issues arise where there is a conflict, just exercise discretion. Any other declarations? Councillor Cox.
Thank you. Yes. If any discussion comes up in relation to Phoenix House, my charity that I work for is a tenant in that building, and therefore I would leave any questions that are asked in relation to that to my colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I don't think we've ever had so many declarations at one meeting. Any further declarations? Thank you. Item 5, review of the forward plan. As always, the forward plan is attached to the papers for this meeting. Do any members wish to raise any issues relating to that document? No, thank you. Item 6, review of the scrutiny work programme. Again, this is a standing item. The work programme is attached to the papers for the meeting. I will just flag up one issue that's arisen, as in connection with an item that Councillor Lumley's raised with me by email this week regarding dealing with fly tipping in his ward and elsewhere in the borough. And I've discussed it with him, and what we're going to suggest is that it's added to the agenda for the meeting on, I'm going to try and remember the date now, the 11th of September. 23rd of September, when we'll also be looking at it's our annual have I got the right meetings? It's an annual review of crime and disorder, etc. It was felt it would fit in quite well to that discussion and the wider discussions about antisocial behaviour, etc. And Councillor Lumley has agreed that that's appropriate, so it will form part of the discussions on that date. Other than that, I have nothing to say about the work programme. Does any member need to raise any issue in relation to it? Slowly.
What I would like to add, but I don't want it to be a big piece of work, just a series of answers from questions. But just regarding what's been in the news in the last 24 hours about the Afghan settlement scheme, which has obviously brought about many issues. I'd just like to put that in a future topic, or I can ask the questions now. Thank you. So it's a bit short.
I think I'm going to rule that it's not appropriate to ask the questions tonight, but what I would suggest, if you have specific questions you wish to raise, you don't have to wait for a meeting for that to, you can submit them to the appropriate officers in the normal way. I mean, the other thing that we could consider, director is telling me, is offer a member briefing separate from obviously this meeting. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, very kind of you. Yeah.
I mean, certainly, I think we're all aware that it's an important issue in the light of what's come out of the last 24 hours. So I think that would be helpful. Yeah. Any other items relating to the scrutiny work programme? Councillor Holmes.
If I could just bring in on the back of Councillor Lumley and fly tipping and things like that, I have mentioned it quite a few times about the Wombles who do a fantastic job, and then unfortunately very often these bags don't get collected, and if we could put that in with it, I don't know whether it's possible. I have asked about it when I wasn't a councillor, and whether, and then they do a fantastic job, but if it's spread about all over the place again, it wants to do it straight away, really.
Because I mean, we did discuss that at our workshop on waste, and if you forgive me for saying, and if you're interested enough to watch the YouTube video of the last cabinet meeting, I fed back on that specifically to cabinet, so it has been raised and it has been pursued. There are issues on the work programme. Okay. Oh, sorry, Councillor Lumley.
Just a quick one, Chair. Just regarding the review of all of local government, which is currently ongoing. I'd like to just add, if we can do some work on whether NHS integrated care boards is going to be part of sort of future local government, which is quite a big thing at the moment as well. Thank you.
It is. I'm not aware that there's any part of the discussions on the future of local government includes some sort of integration with the health board. What is the case is that one of our items further down the line this year is reviewing the business case on the doctor's surgery, and I've already had some discussion with officers as to whether we could actually invite representatives of the integrated health board to that meeting. So I think there is a link between us and them as partners. I don't think it's on the agenda to take that down a more formal route.
Just to add to that, Councillor Lumley, as part of the report that will come to you, setting out the proposals, well, the plans and the response to the proposals around local government reorganisation, there are a number of work streams that are being developed and worked on at the moment. And one of those is the links to the wider public sector reform, not limited to health. Actually, there's an awful lot happening across the wider public sector, and that alignment's clearly important. So I imagine it will come up in that discussion, but absolutely then linked to the sort of the GP surgery in terms of what things mean for us locally.
Any other items on the work programme? Okay, thank you. I'll move to item 7 on the agenda, which is the report on asset management, the asset management plan for corporate assets. And I'm going to invite the chair, for the director for Place and Prosperity, to present the report to us. I think that'll be an initial presentation. I should also add, and I should have said at the beginning, that Councillor Cox is here as portfolio holder and is available to take part in our discussions tonight. Thank you for attending. So over to you, Lydia, I think.
Thank you. So we've produced a presentation because this scope of work is quite extent. So I've tried to summarise it as succinctly and clearly as possible, whilst not repeating which is the data which is in the report. So am I going to say next slide, Adam? Brilliant. And it's working. Thank you. So as a reminder, the asset management plan was adopted by the council in February 2024. It's a strategic document which helps inform the function of the corporate property and assets team and what as a team we are delivering. So the hierarchy shown on the slide here is the asset management plan being the strategy. There are 4 functions of the team focused on the asset development plan, the planned maintenance programme, estate management and facilities management. That's not limited to the delivery functions below. I've just given you a flavour of some of the delivery functions of each of those components, and that's the focus of the presentation and the report today. I've particularly focused on planned maintenance programme because I know that that is a priority of members, but I've also touched on an update for members on the asset development plan and estate management primarily. To set the scene though, we also have had 2 important audits as part of the programme of work of the asset management plan. One was external, and that identified that the property valuations are an essential component for completing and signing off the audit of financial statements. So we have, through a procurement process, appointed a new registered valuer, and that has ensured that all asset valuations align with the policy for the 2024-25 accounts. And our internal audit has been previously focused on the asset development plan, which you'll hear more about shortly. That highlighted some changes within the programme that have has slowed the programme down, but it also identified opportunities to improve how the programme is run. And since that audit, we've implemented a new programme board, which is overseeing property and asset projects. That's a cross-departmental programme board, and we have shared a more comprehensive update to the Audit and Standards Committee on the 25th of March. So casting your mind back to the asset management plan, which is the strategic document, one of the key components of that on the action plan was to implement a new asset management system. So really taking advantage of some of the advancements in digital technology. We have procured and selected a preferred supplier. We are implementing a new digital asset management system, and the first phase will be completed by the end of July. This will hold all of the council's assets, and we're aiming to complete the second phase, which includes testing and integration with other areas of the council, like finance, hopefully by the autumn. What I've just highlighted a few components of the MRI Cube, which is the software name. So obviously significant improvements to management efficiency. We're not going to hold information on spreadsheets anymore. They will all be trackable and monitored through this online system. And it also provides a better service for our tenants as well. We're not alone. There are 160 other UK local authorities that are using this system as well. So it's a good benchmark across the country. That in turn will help inform and improve our lease arrangements with our tenants. And to give you some scope of that work, we have approximately 40 lease and licence arrangements from the council that are managed by the council as part of the corporate property and assets team. The main arrangements relate to here, Parkside, Phoenix House and Snow Hill. Most of those are on a recurring lease and service charge invoicing, and all those have been issued in 24-25. In the spirit of openness and transparency, we have about 4 outstanding queries that relate to service charges, and the team are working hard with colleagues across the council, primarily in finance, some within legal, where we've had to enter into discussions with leaseholders, and that's particularly relevant to where we've had retrospective service charges. And we're also working through how we recharge insurance costs as well. That overall is being monitored closely between the corporate property and assets team and finance to ensure that we've got that commercial approach to our lease arrangements. As I've mentioned, we have about 40 different people that, organisations that we're liaising with. Our tenant satisfaction is good. We have very few complaints from our leaseholders. Once I've got MRI Cube set up, we'll be able to provide you with much more accurate, up-to-date data reporting. We also have an active programme of reviewing all lease agreements. That includes renewals, rent reviews and new letting opportunities as well. And this is an ongoing process, and we're monitoring changes and updating as necessary. And we provide those updates regularly to our portfolio holder on a monthly basis. So this is split over 2 slides because there's so much information within this section. So a planned maintenance programme. So the asset management plan included this in February 2024. As you're aware, we've had limitations on our resource available within the team. So the focus has been on ensuring that those high risk and essential works have been completed. In 2024-25, so the previous financial year, we've carried out 10 high priority urgent works. That has included repairs to car parks, potholes, gutter repairs to Snow Hill and some damage to street furniture. Unfortunately, we can't mitigate for emergency works, people backing into barriers and such like, and knocking down walls, unfortunately. So our priority has been on those, anything that requires health and safety or emergency works. Since February 24, and actually towards the beginning of this year, we've identified new resource. So we've appointed a new full-time resource within the corporate property and assets team, and that has enabled us to review all outstanding health and safety and emergency work that has either been undertaken or needs to be undertaken, and that includes repairs and condition surveys as well. We're doing that concurrently with energy audits, tree assessments and asbestos evaluations, so we're meeting all of our requirements from a compliance perspective as well. So that's all that we have been doing. And now looking forward. So that helps us accurately forecast what is required over the next 5 years to enter into a effective planned maintenance programme. We've also been proactive in working with our environmental maintenance team. That's been mainly focused around our Pride in Place programme. So the appointment of the new resource that I mentioned is a capital programme manager and surveyor, but that also complements a new green and open spaces officer, which has been appointed as part of the environmental maintenance team. And that collaborative working across the piece, I hope, demonstrates our commitment to planned maintenance for council assets. In addition, the Pride in Place programme, which is a programme that both directorates are very proactively involved with, and that's prioritising outstanding repairs, particularly focused on I'm going to say health and safety and emergency works, but also priorities that have been identified by members of the public, community groups, and of course councillors. That's include car parks, bus shelters and allotments. That's probably the most amount of emails that come into our inboxes on a regular basis. So we are looking at what has been completed, but also what needs to be completed. The new procurement rules have also had an impact on this piece of work. So we're going through a full procurement process, which will be advertised. The documentation will be completed by the end of this month. I've put depending on Welland procurement availability, because obviously there's a process that needs to go through to put that out to tender with their support to ensure that we are in keeping with the procurement regulations. That piece of work will include all priority works for this year, 25-26, and that's being discussed with our portfolio holder for this area, along with another councillor that's particularly interested in this area shortly. That piece of work will prioritise what will take place this year, 25-26, based on prioritisation, but also on the budget available. And then our planned maintenance programme for 26-27. Through the procurement rules, we've also included, with support of Welland, an option to extend to 27-28. We're conscious of any potential changes that local government reorganisation may have on this piece of work, but we've included that within the tender. So another key component of the asset management plan was the asset development programme. This has focused on external funding, which was secured through the business rates pool, which was previously administered by the Local Enterprise Partnership. We are providing regular updates to Cabinet and Portfolio on this piece of work, primarily because the funding has to be spent by March 2026. So I've just captured the key points from the last Cabinet update, which includes the redevelopment for commercial purposes of the Phoenix House. So that will see the community support hub move from Phoenix House to Parkside. That requires some refurbishment and integration within Parkside. that also allows us to redevelop and offer out commercially the space at Phoenix House. We are, as per the last briefing to Cabinet, in regular discussion with the Integrated Care Board around the aspiration for improved health facilities within Melton area. And they have expressed an interest in the top floor of Phoenix House, and that is ongoing dialogue, and we're providing updates to them regularly between the council and the Integrated Care Board. We believe that they are putting a proposal to their committee in August, and then we'll provide an update following that meeting. The piece of work that we've done to enable all that has been the appointment of a multidisciplinary team, and they are currently engaging with stakeholders, not just us as the council. Obviously there's several departments that are impacted, obviously the team that works here and the team that are moving into here, but also the leaseholders at both Parkside, which includes DWP that are based here on the ground floor, and also the existing leaseholders at Parkside. The design is in development at the moment, and the schedule, I can confirm, will be completed, and the external funding ensured that we spend that by March 2026. The two other elements of the asset development programme are the cattle market, which is split into site 1A and 1B. 1A is currently waiting for the planning application and is expected to be at committee in September. And 1B, we're currently following the agreement from Cabinet to sell site 1B. We're now liaising with legal services regarding any car parking restrictions on that site, so that's in progress. And then finally the Cove, which is currently used for storage with some limited community use. The business case is under development for conversion for residential units. And then bringing all that together is a team that delivers the asset management plan. And as part of the work that we've been undertaking this year is putting in place a service improvement plan. And I know this is focused on the team and officers, but I wanted to share this with you to give confidence that we are focused on these areas of delivery. So the service improvement plan focuses on the asset management plan as its strategy, delivering the asset development plan, and also the planned maintenance programme as priorities. You can see some of the initiatives that we've already implemented within the team. So that includes project dashboards, skills and workload audit. We're meeting regularly with the team through one-to-ones, and an establishment of a programme to address planned maintenance, responsive repairs and compliance servicing. We're doing that collaboratively with our environmental maintenance team to have a triage approach so we can provide up-to-date relevant information that's responsive, particularly to any requests that come through by email. And then finally, we're also undertaking a diagnostic review of the service, but that's particularly focused on ensuring that we are compliant with health and safety regulations. That complements the external audit that we referenced at the beginning of the presentation regarding the valuation programme, and will help us identify any risks and risk mitigations to improve the financial assurance of both the team and also the commercialisation of a effective asset management programme for the council. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I should ask whether Councillor Cox wants to add anything at this stage.
Thank you. Just to give members a little bit of background to this, because obviously there's a lot of work gone into this, but I think it's just worthwhile remembering where we've actually come from. As we came in as an administration, we were given direction about how precarious financial position the local our borough was in, and that the LGA had actually recommended that one of the things the council needed to do was look at a rationalisation of its assets, because we just basically held too many assets that were costing us money but not actually generating us any form of income. So you'll notice in the plan this evening there have been decisions made around some of those. Where we can maximise income, we will do that. Where we need to sell our property that isn't generating us an income, we've made those decisions and we're progressing that. But that is the background, that the Local Government Association had recommended that. I think as well we have to recognise that it was a small team that inherited quite an ad hoc system that had leases that were out of date. There were a number of informal arrangements with tenants across our assets, and all of that has taken quite some work to get to where we are now, where we know what the leases are, what state they're in, whether they need adapting, changing, amending. And that small team have been doggedly going through that process to get where they are. Many of the team that are with us today have not been here that long, so this is something they inherited. As I said, the cost benefit analysis has been done of all of our assets across the district, and that's allowed us to progress this plan and actually come to the decisions that we have, and the recommendations that came to Cabinet. So I thank the officers for the work that they've done in relation to that, in bringing it to us. And lastly, we've also tried to recognise developing trends across the borough, and one of the things I'm sure all councillors will have recognised in the budget when I presented it this year was the increasing cost of homelessness, and therefore where we have had assets that we felt were costing us but not generating an income, there has been a direction by Cabinet to the team to look at can those assets be utilised to reduce those costs for us, and they're included in the plan this evening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to open it up for comments, questions from members of the committee. Councillor Gordon.
Yeah, the Sculford Road car park, the Site 1B. Can you explain the restrictions which could prevent the sale of the land, please?
So I can't answer in detail without getting some support from our legal team, but we want to ensure that we're following the statutory process in line with those regulations to ensure that we are clear to proceed with the sale of the site. So if you want any further information, I would have to default to my legal colleagues, if that's okay.
Thank you for that. I think we should actually put it to the committee for a vote about switching the AC off, but I'll let that one go. Councillor Pritchett.
Oops. Thank you very much for your presentation, Lydia. We've just got a few questions. You want to tender for work to implement your plans, yet you seem to say, you're saying that it revolves around whether back office administrators in Welland procurement have got availability and time to do it.
No, so we have got the tender documentation ready. I didn't want to give a definitive date to you tonight until I'd checked that with Welland Procurement. So as a team, we are committed to that going out by the end of July. I'm just waiting for a response, but they have been really supportive in helping us get all that information together, particularly in light of the new procurement rules. So it's imminent is what I want to put across.
Thank you. When one looks at the assets, there's not that many assets. I've been through it before. Quite a lot of the assets that you're talking about in green management and that are town council things. Is there going to be a recharge to the town council precept, including the cost of the asset recording system?
Would you mind if I brought my colleague in, because I don't know the answer to that? Thank you.
I think Councillor Pritchett, I think you're asking is it the management software going to be recharged to residents? As I understand it, no. The funding was secured as part of a capital bid in the finances, so it's already been provided for over the next few years.
It's been paid for. I don't know what the figure at an earlier working group meeting was revenue 25, but you're talking about having a green maintenance team and maintenance records. They are town council. The toilets are town council. A lot of these issues you're dealing with, which I'll pick up at, I think I need to pick that up at another time. The next question is, there was at one time some funding coming into the council. I don't know whether it's from the LLEP for asset development, and therefore the asset rationalisation has to be done by, I understood, for a certain date to get this money. Could you give us an update, please?
Yeah, that was within the report and within the presentation. So that's the asset development programme, which was funded. The accountable body was the LEP that I mentioned, was from the business rate pool funding, and that has to be spent by March 2026. And the schedule that is in the report confirms that that spending will be completed by March 2026.
That one is, will the money actually benefit us in terms of assets developed, or will it go on administration costs?
So the funding is primarily capital expenditure. As I mentioned within the presentation, that includes the redesign and development of both Parkside and Phoenix House. So yes, it will benefit both buildings, but the detail of that will be coming back to Cabinet for a report in the autumn.
You said that this current asset development plan was approved in 2024. There have been plans of some sort prior to that, and I'm thankful for what you've put in, but it's a bit like Groundhog Day for me. I've heard this 2 or 3 times, and I stood up under the previous administration and this one about the management of this programme. Is there any reason why I should believe that this time it's going to happen, and it will happen within certain dates?
As I mentioned within the presentation, work has already been commissioned and procured, particularly in relation to the asset development plan, and we've got a very tight deadline because of that external funding. In terms of the asset management plan, which is a strategic document, and how that feeds into the planned maintenance and the repair work, that is the piece of work that is being procured at the moment for delivery from the summer, August, for this financial year. So I can't give any more, I suppose, assurance than that we are procuring and spending to support the strategic vision and direction of what is identified within the asset management plan. And we have increased resource within the team to support that delivery as well. And in addition, if you noted within both the report and the presentation, we have also implemented a new programme board. So those are internal officer checks at a senior level across directorates to ensure that those projects are progressing in line with our project management system.
Back in the office, do you have project plans with dates on that the board will look at, that you should be doing things by certain dates? Because that's never been transparent before, shall I say, over the last 4 years.
Yes, we do. So we have highlight reports and a project plan, and I'm more than happy to share that on a regular basis with our portfolio holder.
Thank you. Actually, I'm just going to ask a couple of things I'd listed for later, but they link in partly to what Councillor Pritchett has just said. So I thought I'd do it now. Firstly, just on, I mean, I understand what Councillor Pritchett is saying when he refers to town council, because there is no town council. There are assets which I would consider to be borough assets, whether it's Parkside or Phoenix House or the Stockyard Cattle Market, which happen to be in Melton. But the cost of those assets and any benefits in terms of income derived from those assets are part of the borough, the borough finances. I think it's important just to make that point. I mean, if when Phoenix House had burnt down, they decided to build Parkside in Bottisford, I mean, a bit provocative, that would have been fine, but it would still be a borough asset if it was in Bottisford as opposed to Melton. So I just wanted to make that's a comment. Forgive me. I just made that comment. Yeah. I understand, but wherever they're located, there is a cost, and there's also an income, and it's part of the borough finance. Just on the second part of what Councillor Pritchett said, I already listed it. Can you just be very clear in specifying what steps have been taken in the last 12 months, say, regarding the delivery of the asset management programme that represents significant change to what was happening in the 3-year period prior to February 2024? Because I've looked, I wasn't here as part of this council during that period, but I've looked at that situation. And frankly, from December 2021, when they said we needed to act, through to February 2024, it wasn't happening. What are the key changes that we've made as a council to how we address this that will actually ensure delivery?
Okay, I think obviously. Oh, sorry. Here we are. Is that better? Yeah. Okay. Obviously, I wasn't part of a council previously either, but I think when I came in, and I thanked the colleague from Bottisford, because he did alert me to some of the concerns he'd had previously, and I think they were really valid and genuine. I think we had, my professional opinion is that we had a very small team trying to touch a number of things, but not actually delivering. So whilst we were touching repairs were being done on an ad hoc basis that cost quite considerably. The change has been a strategic, staged approach to the repairs that would need to be done to all of our assets and bringing them into some structure. When we first came in as an administration, we didn't have a list of actual assets. And it was quite clear that we didn't really know what our assets were. And that has raised other issues that are going to be ongoing, such as developments come under our control. So the town has expanded, developments in the borough have expanded quite considerably. After a period of time, those assets often get transferred to us. We didn't necessarily have a record of some of those. So that work has been done now by the team. They have clear plans for each of the work that needs doing. So in terms of rationalising our assets, we've got a clear plan and decisions have been made, Chair. So, in terms of the Cove, that work's being done, that cost benefit work, the decision has been made that that's the route we're going to go. The Fairmead property, there's a decision been made in relation to that. All of that has taken work by the team. King Street, a decision has been made in relation to that premises. So that's the work that's progressing. The bit that's frustrated me as a councillor, and I'm sure as colleagues as well, is the procurement of that contract. And that's what I've been pushing, because for the residents in our community, they see us rationalising our assets, but what they want to see is the improvement and the maintenance in the town and across the borough. And that's the bit I'll be pushing, and I'm sure you'll hold me to account on going forward. So that's just as the councillor portfolio holder. I'm sure the team will have other bits to add, but that's the bit that we've really pushed. I think as well, I just want to add that we have committed extra resource to this team. So the Cabinet have recognised that this is a challenging area, that we had a small team trying to deal with a multitude of things that really did need addressing. And we have committed within the budget those 2 additional roles to really push this work forward. Thank you.
Just to add to that, obviously I can't go into significant detail, but for since the implementation or the adoption of the asset management plan in 2024, I did highlight within the report the focus has been on those emergency repairs, ensuring that we've got good data and understanding. That's been through the valuations that's been picked up through audit, and also the development of the digital asset management system, and also the significant amount of work that has been done, as Councillor Cox has highlighted, on ensuring that we've got up-to-date lease records and that where appropriate leases are being renewed or updated to make sure that we're getting the most benefit from a commercial point of view for the local authority. So I want to stress that work has been ongoing despite the small team, but we have strengthened the team most recently over the last few weeks. And then since that, we've been able to progress at pace with the delivery of the repairs and the planned maintenance programme, and also take forward the asset development programme as well. There's lots of different acronyms associated with this area of work.
Thank you for that. I'm going to, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but what I seem to be hearing is that it's the recognition that to deliver what we've said we need has been a realistic appraisal of what resource we need to put into that process. And that's the major change that's been made. Yeah.
Could I just add, Joe, you know, we've got some major projects going on. We've had the stockyard, which the team have been involved in, the sourcing of a GP surgery. That isn't unique to this administration. You know, the previous administration were trying to bring an additional GP surgery to the borough. And we're utilising the team to look at our assets for that as well. So this isn't just this administration piece of work. We've had the previous administration trying to focus on similar things with a very small team. And I think what we appreciate is they need additional resource to deliver what we want.
Thank you. I've said my piece for now. Councillor Gordon did have a hand up, and then Councillor Thwaites.
Yeah, it's very brief. When I spoke about the Scorford Road car park, Site 1B, to do with the restrictions which could prevent the sale of the land, you said that you could have a word with the legal team, and if you could do that, please, and if possible, if they could put it on the tracker, that would be brilliant. Thank you.
Councillor Thwaites, then Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, thanks. It's just to get a couple of quick questions and sort of connected with what we've been talking about. First one that really is on the risk and mitigation that's in the report. As an old project manager, if everything says is medium risk, it needs more detail, because if you look at the two parts that it's measured on, the likelihood and the impact is critical on every one of them. The likelihood goes from low through to significant, which I know isn't the same as high or whatever, because that confused me to start with. But is everything a medium risk, or some more of a risk than others? The second point, which may come into as well, is we've talked about the savings and that sort of thing. Have we got an idea of the magnitude of savings that we'll make within the first year, second year, third year? And I'm not looking for detailed figures. I'm just looking at the magnitude of it.
So the savings in relation to the asset development programme will be coming back to Cabinet as part of the business case for the development of both Phoenix House and Parkside, and that will include any savings within that. That's in development at the moment. And then secondly, in relation to the risk register, I think it's a challenge to represent all the risks for an asset management programme. As I said at the start, that's our strategy, that's our vision for how we deliver the services. So I would suggest that maybe future scrutiny reports maybe focus the risk area on the individual programmes. So yes, there are some areas that are higher risk than others, because that's dependent on those particular projects. So we've got the asset. I was trying to provide an overall risk rating that encompassed the asset development plan, the asset maintenance, the maintenance programme, as well as some of the other components that we've discussed this evening.
for homes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I thought Lydia and the councillor were extremely good in telling us what we want to know, and I appreciate that. There are two things which I have got a problem, not necessarily a problem, but just want to ask. One, you mentioned King Street. Now, this went on a long, long time ago, King Street, and the people who owned it and did what they did to it, they're still alive, and they should they were never made to, but they should have been made to actually do it up and maintain it. Now, I've always thought that they are still around, I can assure you, who had it and did what they did to it. And so I just feel that probably that still wants to be looked into, because everything is a cost. And if somebody privately should be doing it, I think they should. Anyway, the other thing is I don't have any animals, so I don't have anything to do with the cattle market apart from occasionally going. But is it commercially viable to take as much of the top of the cattle market as you're taking? Are the people who run the cattle market happy about it? Because it is one of the only big markets, not just in the East Midlands, but from a long swathe of the country. Are you trying to cut your nose off to spite your face in a way? Because we do get money from the business selling, etc., of the cattle, of the assets at the cattle market, cattle, sheep, pig, whatever. And so, are you happy that we are going to actually see the benefit? Because once you have sold an asset, it has gone. And I just feel you want to be thinking very hard and long if you're actually getting money in, and then if you take too much away, you might find that it's not viable. Those are the two things I wanted to say. Thank you.
Happy for me to come back. So I'll answer the last one first, actually. So in relation to the stockyard, because I was there on last Tuesday with the managing director, and he showed me round, and I talked to him about the sale of the site 1A and 1B, and he assured me that there would be no impact on the current and future operation because of the location of those two properties. The other element of that is I can absolutely give confidence in the fact that that business case for the development of the stockyard has been evaluated not just by this council but by Rutland County Council as the accountable body, and then it is also authorised and checked by the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government to award the levelling up funding. So that's been through a very rigorous process to give assurance that that site will provide, it's a sustainable income through the redevelopment of the stockyard, whilst retaining a lively and thriving livestock market, because there were more sheep on Tuesday than cattle. So in relation to King Street, I do have a separate update on King Street, actually, because the more that we have investigated this, the more information that we've got. So the site previously had funding from the National Lottery Heritage Fund. So when we received the authorisation from the council to sell the site, that potentially would trigger a repayment of that funding. So the team were in contact with that funding body. They have subsequently responded to us, and we have now commissioned a further piece of work around Melton Mowbray's historic assets. The reason for that is we want to ensure that we're not disadvantaging Melton Mowbray or the council for any future funding opportunities based around heritage. So we have, with the agreement of the portfolio holder, I'm happy to say that, is that we've just paused the auction whilst we have this piece of work undertaken around what the future uses can be of King Street, taking into account any future funding, but also investment opportunities. So that will look at the viability of the building, and it will help inform future decisions, whether we retain or dispose it. And that's really important in terms of whether an investor is interested in the site, or whether we look at that site in terms of funding opportunities for the wider town centre with a focus on heritage. So that piece of work has been commissioned and is ongoing at the moment, and we've just paused that auction whilst that is being undertaken. I'm not aware of the previous damage to the property, but I can look at that separately and come back to you. Thank you.
Come back because I'm a trustee at the museum in Melton. I just, quite often people come to Melton and they'll say, well, what is there else to see? And I have thought that because it's got a lovely staircase, hasn't it? That I don't know whether anybody's seen it, but there is. It's Nick Queen Anne or something staircase in that building. Yeah. I'm making a plea that I think that it would be something that would be an asset for people to come in and look, because we have got loads of things that people could look at, but they're in storage, and they could be in that house. Artifacts for Melton and the borough. So I'm just asking that. Whether it's the appropriate time or place, I don't know, but I just think it ought to be good.
I mean, it's probably not the appropriate time or place, but I'm very happy to have allowed you to raise it. I don't know whether there's anything you can comment on regarding that, Lydia.
So the visit that we had from external funders relating to heritage and that specialist support identified King Street as a key historic building for the town. But I will also comment, if you don't mind, on the relationship with the Carnegie Museum that you mentioned. So we also have a heritage forum within the town, which are very proactive in terms of the future of heritage, the preservation and promotion of our heritage assets. And the team are also visiting Carnegie Museum next week to ensure that we are connected to the County Council's heritage team and looking at joint opportunities for promoting the heritage. But I think the piece of work that we're doing is absolutely fundamental to how we value and promote our assets, not just for external funding, but also aligning with the inward investment strategy that the council has adopted as well. So it supports that investment into the town as heritage seen as not liabilities, but assets for Melton.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Lumley.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just to say, obviously, thank you very much for the presentation. It's been very, very good. And thank you for your hard work over the past few months, in particular to Councillor Cox and the council leader, Pip Hornet, who has obviously, I've raised a lot of issues with the whole of the planned maintenance of our NBC owned assets and assets, over the past few years, and I think you have taken my opinions in very well, and thought that there needs to be change, and also otherwise our other political groups combined have been also very supportive of the issues that I've raised. Just going on to audits, which is an agenda, just a bit of an item here, 5.2. Just obviously over the last, say, 5 years, I've been obviously highlighting issues with how we actually maintain NBC-owned land areas. Clearly, there've been audits obviously undertaken over those years. It seems that they were obviously never taken very seriously. Hence, we didn't get any action at all. We didn't get any planned maintenance at all. Are they going to be improved now? So audits, when they do, the outcome of them do come about, the action is going to be taken. And that's my first question, Chair. I'll just let a response first, if that's all right.
So those audits have already fed into the tender documents that will be completed by the end of this month. But though the prioritisation of that is imminently going to be shared with the portfolio holder and shared with yourself as well.
Thank you very much for that. Just another point as well. I see we're on our, I think it's our fourth town centre area consultation. Are there going to be any more? Because I mean, we keep having these, but we never seem to have any action on town centre improvements. And just from my own feedback in my ward, certainly on the election campaign, 2023, the public was saying to me there was a feeling that we're putting a lot of our efforts into the whole of the Cattle Market area, but hardly anything into the actual town centre. Obviously, I know and they know that a lot of hard work has gone into that area for lots of reasons, and we have to do that. That's what I was telling them. But I think we just now the public are sort of saying to me that, certainly when they feedback to me that they do want to see some action on the town centre. It's not just constantly having actual Melton Borough Council like social media posts saying we have a consultation for X number of months, and then it just goes all quiet again. Thank you.
So I assume you're referring to the design guide that I believe went out to consultation, and then because we are adopting it as a planning document, an SPD, then it has to go through a formal consultation. That has received 45 responses, so it's good to see that people have engaged with that consultation, and that's being compiled for a cabinet report on the 10th of September, and then will come to full council on the 18th of September. I appreciate some concern regarding consultation fatigue. However, the portfolio holder for the town centre and the cabinet as a whole has really focused its attention on town centre vision and action plan and improvements, utilising both UK Shared Prosperity and Rural England Prosperity funding to enable some of that development. But in addition to that, we've also been very proactive with engaging with our business community. We've held a meeting on the 19th of May, and a further meeting is planned for the 9th of September in partnership with the Business Improvement District. We've also got a very proactive food and drink network as well that's not just linked to the stockyard, it's linked to the whole borough, including the town centre. And in addition to that, we've got 2 pieces of work ongoing that are very much focused on the town centre, which is around culture. If you invest in culture and look at funding for culture, then that brings footfall and vitality to your high street, and also the piece of work that I've just referenced in terms of heritage.
Very much for that. Can I just say as well to the property team, all officers previous and new, is that I think you have done a very good job of the town centre in terms of trying to I think in terms of actual sort of like retailer sort of occupancy rates are very high compared with other parts of the country, which is very good. I think other town centres that you hear often, they are really sort of having a tough time. I think what we've done, certainly having this emphasis on having independent shops, stores and etc., and also actually recently as well, where I've seen different stores, all being done out, all painted. Like, for example, the recent one you saw, Clark's shoes being returned. That's a really good, there's clearly a plan in place to try and improve the town centre. And by the way, just by the old sort of like Thomas Cook travel agency area, which is now obviously Esquire's coffee shop. That looks very, very nice now. So I think I'm seeing a lot of big improvements in the town centre, and that's being fed back to me as well, and obviously the councillors as well. That's really good. I was going to ask something else, but I forgot what it was because I didn't write it down. But if I do, I'll put my hand up shortly. But yeah, thank you for your responses.
Councillor Lumley, and if you do put your hand up again later, I'll try and notice it. Are there any other issues, Councillor Pritchard?
Just to clear up any misunderstanding on town council precept issues, I was referring to things like allotments and cemetery and things that were, and come the revolution, with the unitary authorities, there will no doubt be a reset on who pays for what within towns after that.
Are there? I'm trying to keep it going so you can collect your thoughts, Councillor Lovely. But are there any other questions or observations people want to make? I've just got a couple of relatively small ones, I think small ones. Just on, so the two things are, firstly, on the, you've explained how a lot of work has gone into regularising the various leases and putting them all onto a sounder footing, including recharging for service charges that previously hadn't been levied or hadn't been levied fully. In all cases, has that meant retrospective to when those leases began, or has some sort of compromise been struck with the lessees?
So there are, I think, 3 or 4, my colleague may correct me, where we're still in negotiation regarding those retrospective service charges.
So still to be determined. Okay, thank you. And then the other question I just picked up in terms of the integrated health board looking at Phoenix House again, having gone full circle from saying that wasn't suitable 2 years ago. But you said the top floor. So is there current interest only in part of Phoenix House? Because there's a big difference between the top floor of Phoenix House and a whole floor at Parkside. So I just want to be clear I'd heard that correctly.
Yeah, they confirmed they were only interested in the top floor of Phoenix House.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or observations? If not, I'm going to draw this part of the meeting to a close. Thank you ever so much for your presentation, and for Jitten, you seem to have got away without having been put on the spot, but thank you for your attendance, and thank you, Sarah, as well. Item 8 is urgent business. There is no urgent business that's been notified to me, so I will close this part of the meeting. This is the public meeting, but just remind members that after a short break, we're then going to move into a session looking at older person services. Interestingly, we normally call these workshops. It's not the normal workshop. So yet again, Scrutiny is breaking ground that it's really a preliminary conversation, an opportunity to shape the direction of the work that's being undertaken on reviewing older person services. We will be coming back as a formal committee in September to look at it again. So I propose we take a 5-minute break, in which time we'll be able to get Chris and the person whose name I've forgotten down. Okay, thank you very much. See you all back in 5.